Well, speaking of enemies, do you want to talk about another enemy?
Oh, okay. Who?
The Federal Reserve.
Oh.
So I want to talk about the
Okay.
inflation basket of goods.
Oh, okay.
So you've heard about inflation, right?
Yeah, inflation.
Yeah. So, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and what I'm going to do on Tuesday is do a deeper dive into like the actual calculation of inflation.
Yeah.
So the Bureau for Labor Statistics is the kind of the national organization that's responsible for tracking inflation.
Oh.
It's like one of the goals of the Federal Reserve. So essentially the Federal Reserve are like the bankers that control the money system. So their jobs, they have two goals. One is to, maximize employment. And then the second is to, stabilize and keep prices stable. So keep inflation at 2%. Because if you keep it 2%, no one will notice. But one thing I want to get into is the actual inflation index. So like every month, they publish inflation data of what the inflation rate is. So they create this thing called the consumer price index. So they've come up with like this metric that is like the all holy inflation number. So like every month they say, this is the inflation. And then it's kind of, that's what people, that's the inflation because the BLS says so. But I wanted to take a look at, they have this basket of goods. Like when I say basket of goods, what do you think of when I say
I'm all for a basket of goods.
Yeah. So it's kind of like they create this thing called a basket of goods. So essentially they create this basket of goods, which is essentially like supposed to be kind of like as you're a consumer, these are the things you buy. So we're going to create a standard basket that represents like what you buy as a consumer.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think of it kind of like when you go to the grocery store, you like go shopping, you get a basket of things.
I buy some comic books.
So I want to get deeper, and I'll go deeper on my Tuesday episode into the actual calculation. But like one thing, for example, this is the first table. So like what they do is they have these expenditure categories, and then they assign like a relative importance. So like the basket of goods is worth 100 or 100%. So that's all items. So they kind of break the basket of goods into three categories: food, energy, and all other items.
Oh, okay.
So like when I think as my own consumer, I think food's obviously the most important, right? Because I need to eat. And then fuel, right? I need to heat my house. I need to cool my house. Yeah. And then all other goods are whatever. But the actual weight, I mean, and I'm just one person, right? I'm not an expert. I don't have any credential, but like one problem is the actual weighting of this basket. So it feels like they kind of manipulate the basket to like, it's like a fake basket of goods, right?
Yeah.
So for example, all items are 100, but they only put food as 13% of the basket. So right, you have 100% basket, but only 13% of that is food. And then energy, 7% is energy.
Yeah.
So that's 20% is food and energy. And then the other 79% is all other items less food and energy. So that'd be things like clothes, radios, cars, everything else, which I guess is okay. But I guess as a consumer, when I think of like inflation, right, I think of like food. Food's the most important. I think if I was making my own basket of goods, food would be like weighted way more than 13. So I think, and I'll get more into like these categories because essentially there's information that they publish every.
Would property be on there, like rent and mortgage and stuff?
Yeah, so they calculate. So like here's shelter. So shelter is 36%. So they have they calculate everything: rent of primary residence, owner's equivalent rent. So yeah, they get into all. So essentially, they have every little category, and then even like within meat, there's like ham shanks, like. So they really calculate. They pretty much track almost everything, and that's the thing with inflation. It's not just. I mean, and you'll see the media publish. Oh, the inflation was 3% this rate. So essentially, they publish this basket of goods rate of like. So essentially, they total up everything, weight it to 100%, and then. So for example, in June. So here's I think the eggs. You said follow the eggs.
Oh yeah, follow. Yeah, I just heard that. I heard that documentary somewhere, like in a concept. Yeah, follow the price of eggs.
So yeah, they really just they calculate this 100 items. So that's the thing is inflation's so nuanced, right? It changes from item to item, but then also item in location. So eggs in Buffalo might be more expensive than eggs in Florida, and vice versa. So it's kind of like this way that the bureaucrats in charge like to like. Make a nice simple number. Inflation is 3%, which is okay. Using this, and that's the thing is, what I want to get into more of my episodes, just talking about like, okay, this is the number, but like this is how this isn't right. This isn't physics. This isn't the rate of gravity is 9.81. This isn't like a hard number that is the truth. This is like a number that human beings that are no smarter than you and I devised a method to calculate this number. So it's much more complicated than just inflation is this. So I think. Hoping to do more segments. I think I'm going to start doing a better job of like tracking this number and kind of because I'm interested too of how do they come up with this inflation number because they're saying it's 3%, but my lived experience is that I go to the grocery store and my basket of goods at the grocery store is way more expensive than 3%.
Yeah. So there's So this is just a random made up number.
It's a made up number.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way it's espoused, especially, I mean, I think the 14th. So I'll record next Tuesday, and then the next Wednesday they release the number. But you'll even see the neighbor, like the Federal Reserve and the BLS, like says they come out with their monthly statement. This is the inflation number, and then everyone just says the inflation is this. Like everyone just follows this number. And there's really never a discussion of. And even I have my own thoughts of, okay, how do they actually calculate? Because these are just numbers that they publish. How do they actually calculate the food, right? And it's kind of it's, again, we're not doing rocket science.
Yeah.
This is just people making up numbers, and they have their justifications of why they make it up this way, but it is just a made up number because obviously the economy is super complex. There's all these variables going around. No actual person knows what's going on. They're just trying their best to like reflect back. That's the thing is they even, I mean, I think I've heard that they actually take out certain things. So like even the energy being 9%, sometimes they say, oh, energy is too volatile. We can't include that in the basket of goods, even though like most people care about, energy, gasoline.
How long has the Federal Reserve been around?
I think it was like the 1913, somewhere around there.
Okay.
But essentially, that's another interesting thing on the BLS actually has this inflation calculator. Let's see if I can pull it up. You can actually type in, like, you can actually look at, what does the dollar buy in common day? Let's see if I can BLS.
Oh yeah, what does it buy?
So I was born in 1990, and I type in, okay, what's $100 in 2024? And essentially $41 in 1990 is what and here it is. It's this very simple inflation calculator, but here's the actual official CPI inflation calculator. So let's do $100, right?
Oh, okay.
So $100 in January. Let's see. So when was your birthday? You were
November 12th.
But what year?
1967. Dun, 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 dun. Vietnam protests.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like,
Sock it to me.
so $100 in 1967 has the same buying power as $929.
Whoa.
So essentially,
If I had $100, it would be like having 900.
so having $929 today is the same as having $100 the day you were born.
Okay.
So, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa. And maybe the other way to think of it. So this is June 2024. I was actually playing around with this calculator because it's boring, but it's also like
fun. That's kind of interesting to see what you do.
So yeah, November 67. That's the thing is like inflation it's gotten worse since the so $10. So $100 today is worth what $10 was when you were born.
Okay. Oh,
right?
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's like
It is.
but it's been over the course of your whole life, so you haven't noticed that.
Yeah. Well,
you might have intuited, things are more expensive, but like, that's the thing is the inflation now is crazy, but when you zoom out more, it becomes more, whoa, this is wild.
I remember, when I was a caddy, you could get paid $10 for 3 hours of work. Actually, and it was very hard if you were a younger kid.
But essentially, right? If $10 when you were born is worth 100, that would essentially be now getting paid $100 for 3 hours, which is actually, that's pretty good pay for 3 hours, right?
Oh yeah.
So
that was when I was 15. I don't know, like when I was caddying. Oh yeah, can you say when I was caddying? It was like in probably 1984. Can you look up like what is $10 then? So now,
so $33. So essentially,
$33
would be worth what 100 is. So
that's about what. Well, it's almost like what I make giving plasma.
yeah.
So
you were making how much in caddying?
Like $10.
So $10. And
$20 if you had two bags.
So it's probably like $67 because it's about triple since then.
Yeah.
And I'm 90, so like I mean even right. So it's wild when you kind of go back because the farther you get to go back. So yeah, 41. So $100 today is worth $41 when I was born. So it's just like as you zoom out, it's more apparent that this is like a. And again, like the Federal Reserve's goal is to keep it at 2% because if you keep it 2%, you're inflating, but no one's really you don't notice 2% in a year. But if so it's just kind of concerning because it also doesn't seem to be any sort of solution. Like it's just kind of like